Hey everyone, today we're gonna open up 5 ER and you can already see so much bigger than the 4 ER deck layout, which is also why we skip mortars and critter launchers, just getting it a few chests sooner. And hopefully make a good push, but let's try it a few hits. And we upgraded some other offense while we were waiting, but a big change we're gonna do from now on is not really going towards max artillery anymore. And we thought about that, like seeing some other 5 ER bases. Seems like even after rocket choppers, we'd want to upgrade GBE instead, and even one of the two launchers, like rocket launchers or shock launchers. So even if you upgraded some other stuff like troop health, I think it's fine now that we don't have to be as stingy. But on this base, I think 4 ER should be pretty easy. It does have boom cannons, but we've also been taking one mech in our hits. Helps out against some splash when rifles are next to it, and maybe even flaring the last few ERs. So here we can do, let's say, one rifle, 3 bombers over here, and I'll already start on one mech on this side. That one, I think it's okay to critter out, but we can be a bit safer and just use critters on the left instead. Get some one bomber on the left side. If you critter the left buildings, you don't have to worry so much about like definitely getting that ER down, especially when it's like 2 shocks like over here. So here we can do one more rifle in just a bit, and the mech is gonna get shocked, which kind of sucks, but we should have enough to shock the hot pot. Normally we wouldn't, but I think a lot of bombers might have been killed. And now just save up enough GBE. It has longer hits now again with these 4 ER deck layouts, but we're only 1 or 2 days away from rocket choppers. So clearing a bunch of this stuff. And again, the mech, like when it goes to that flame, things should shock it for even a few seconds. So just more ways to keep rifles alive. And I think we'll start flaring as soon as that machine gun goes down. Like what we can do is run 2 critters and start flaring. And those machine guns on the right side, go ahead and shock it. Some Second Wind 2 keeps rifles alive for clearing mines and stuff. And again, we have GB to be pretty aggressive. Get a shock going right there. I think one more Second Wind. Just more rifles to clear mines. And get that final flare, one more shock. I think it should be okay. Luckily not losing too many bombers. Kavan likes to stay in the back, so protecting it a little longer. But 210, so we'll see if it's good enough. Still around those 210, 215 times on 4 ERs. But this guy here, you can see how much longer the average time is on 5s. Seeing our tree pretty quickly. We'll probably still leave snipers level 4. Cannons I think we can max out. But upgrading some other offense like troop damage, Kavan, critters. We'll leave troop health at 3 because we don't really need it right now. But between rockets and shock launchers, you can only choose one if you want to max out rocket choppers. So I'd go with shock launchers just because they both deal with critters, though shock launchers have just way more splash. The rocket choppers are really going to change up the meta in just a few days. Just the fact that, well, we haven't seen a 5 ER we faced yet, but you can just go over the gap and cover so much more distance than using bombers. This one, since it's a bit easier for the right ER, we can just end up crittering it out. But even on these hits, I like taking one mech still. So we'll do like a rifle, spread out these bombers, and get one mech going on the far left. And then just waiting a bit, we are going to critter out the right ER at some point. Get one rifle going on the left side. Still delaying Kavan because I've had way too many times where you drop him too early on the left, he wants to go right, and he dies to a boom mine. Doing that flare just to save maybe a few seconds. And it's kind of unlucky that the mech got shocked, but some of the bombers should target the hotpot now. So when you drop your 3rd rifle, then you can start focusing on critters. And maybe there's a chance we can do 2 ERs, but I think usually that costs a lot of GB. So I like just doing one critter, one shock, and then 1 more crits. The first one mainly just being for dealing with mines. So kind of zooming out but watching that shock timer, get 1 more going. And the other rifle on the left coming around. There are some weird mines over here, so we can afford a critter right there. Lost a few bombers. But I think after that machine gun goes down, we can just start flaring. I'm not a big fan of those buildings, so we can do critter on that blind spot of the machine gun. And then send that last flare. The mech also being so big helps out in just distracting, any other buildings. But getting around the same time, like a 215. The good thing about 5ER is it's okay to be a little slow. Because most people, they're gonna take a long time to get through the base. And with it only being day 3 of the season, and we're already so close to rocket choppas, I don't think it's too bad that, we're in this kind of meta using bombers. Like first day was Zooks, then bombers, and maybe just for a couple more days. So I think the meta should really change up after this week. But this is a 5ER kind of like our base. And on these ones, you can use critters on some of these ERs. So it's still doing the same loadout. And it's going to be staggering rifles as you go. So do like 1 mech, 1 rifle, and all 4 bombers. And you can just drop Kavan early, because as the rifles get damaged, then you can heal them up. But you do want to stagger the rifles, so it doesn't have to be perfect since there's a long line of buildings. Just making sure you don't lose too many bombers to mines. We'll get 1 more rifle pretty soon. So kind of watching here, if the rifles spread enough, you should deal with all the mines. And I guess we could have done the other rifles maybe like a second or 2 sooner. But you see they're clearing most of them. If the rifles need to catch up, you can always do a flare back. So something like this, especially for that boom mine. Of course Kavan wants to die, but well, hopefully he's done his job, spawning like 2 rifles. But we do want to save GBE. So let's see how many are going to die to those mines, but looks like not too many. They're going to hit a shock mine though, so wasting a little time. But luckily we have the mech, so rest of the hit, we can worry about that. And maybe once we have I think 50 GB is fine to start using critters. So we'll do 3 and 1 shock. And we really want to make sure we have enough GBE for the rest of the hit. So that micro should die, and try and delay the shock so you get the full value in time. And after 1 more, I think this should get even the rest of the ERs. So get 1 more shock right now. Right side looking okay. And I think this is the way to hit these bases. It's still slower than 4 ERs, but you can even Hail Mary like 1 of them, with critters taking out the rest. So they get that ER. Does suck we're losing a few bombers, but critters should get the rest of them. So on average going from let's say 210s to like 150 times. And because so many are doing that critter kind of hit, that's why we do want 1 of the launchers coming up. Could be like some of these guys who go rocket launchers, but they will go with shock launchers instead. Even though it's a bit longer wait, they just do a lot more splash and can maybe be better long term. But for this one, you can't really critter out 1 ER with all this stuff. But on some of these, even with rockets, maybe try using a bunch more rifles. Like 1 bomber can get this side, and maybe try a lot of rifles on the left. Could take 1 mech even though it's kind of slow. But I think that might be worth it. And then switching to shield if we're using rifles, especially for those mines. So we're gonna do 1 mech and a bunch of rifles on the left side. It's gonna take like 10 minutes to get to the left, but we'll do a fair amount of flares. Some even hit shock mines, but not much we can do. Main thing is avoiding those few packs of mines there. So let's get a few more flares on this side, maybe like 3 or 4 in total. Do want them to kind of avoid those 3 mines right there. Look at 1 final flare. And one thing you can do with critters is not only clear mines, but distract buildings a bit. So get one going, and there's a bunch of them. And now dropping this bomber on that side. So it's gonna get this ER for us, all the while just watching those rifles. For the rest of the base, there isn't too many mines until this side. Just trying to save some GB. And these rifles, because they're so short range, they kill buildings really fast. And then saving shocks for the hot pot coming up. In fact, we can critter out that shock mine to wake up the hot pot. And get a shot going right there. So these bombers still doing their job. And rifles just do damage a little bit faster. See those rockets doing almost nothing. And as we flare, we can do one critter for those mines. I guess the mech isn't doing a whole lot, but just in case if we don't have GB for a shock. But now we have plenty of GB, so just start flaring. We did miss that flame, so we can do a shield. And then just one final flare. So this is another option on 5 ERs, especially when there isn't too many buildings clumped up. And even with rockets, getting a 207. But looks like a good win. Some solid stars too, and that's gonna be 17, so getting that chest doesn't really get us anything now. But basically what we're gonna do is pick up rockets, leave them at level 1, and once we get shock launchers, get them level 4. And in just a day or so, get those rocket choppers. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.